You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with ANet, where your hosts, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need ANet? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey guys, welcome to another wonderful segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with ANet. I'm your host, Annette Harris. I want to thank you so much for joining us on today, for watching and or listening. I know it's been a minute. We've been off for a couple of weeks and just taking care of some things, but we are back on today. I am grateful to be here. Now, let me do this before I get started. Lord, we thank you for all things. We thank you for this wonderful day that you've blessed us to see. We thank you for the bright sunshine here in Chicago in the Midwest. It's a little hot, oh God, but we thank you for it. We thank you for how you've been blessing, how you are opening doors and making ways, oh God. Get the glory out of this session as we always pray and everything that we go to say and do in Jesus' name. And our opening scripture is the first part of Hosea 4:6, and it states, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee." And that is the basis scripture for our show. And we just want to keep rolling with it. You know, God is opening doors and he's making ways. I'm excited. I always tell you, if you see my face around 12 noon on Wednesday, Central Standard Time, that it's time for you to come on and get caught in the net. I am featuring today a wonderful woman of God. She is no stranger. This is her second time coming on as our guest, but it's because she has penned another book. And she's definitely one. I met her, I guess it's been a couple of years now ago. And one thing I know about her is when she's determined to do something, she's going to do it and she's going to make it work. And she has such a heart for people and making sure that they receive healing from whatever they need. She is a trauma responsive advocate. And I'm just reading a little bit of her bio here. Her background is in health and human service. And that's over 30 years, my goodness. Her experience includes administering state and federal social service programming in local communities and working in communities that impacted national research regarding evidence-based programming. She holds a Master of Science in Human Service Counseling from National Louis University and a Bachelor of Science in Consumer Economics and Family Management from Southern Illinois University. Seeing the need to address individual, family, and community trauma, she launched Flourish and Grow, which if you've seen her on the show before, we focused on that particular company that she actually founded. And that company promotes trauma consciousness and healing from early adversity. She's a certified mental health first aid instructor that allows for trainees to receive a 3-year certification in mental health first aid. So that's just a little blurb about her. There's so much more to her, though. Welcome to Mind, Body, and Soul again, Katherine Staten. How are you doing?
I am great. I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You're looking good. I'm so glad you're out there still doing.
I'm so glad you're out there. I'm glad you're still here, girl. Still here, helping the people. Helping the people.
Yes, that's the whole point. We really want to help others. We see people are suffering so mentally, emotionally, and it seems like in every way. And especially within these past almost 3 years, it seems like it has been amped up. It has been amped up. So it's so much to do, so much to address. But we want to do whatever we can, whatever the Lord allows us to do. Now, let me do this. I want to encourage you guys that when you come into the live feed, please make sure, first of all, thank you for coming in. Please make sure you click the share button. And also you can tag individuals. You can share it to your page. Let others know. When you do that, you let others know that we are on. So I'm on my Facebook page, ANet Get Caught in the Net, and then also on my YouTube channel. Shout out to Earl Winfrey over at Intellectual Radio. He has uploaded, right now you can go to my YouTube channel, Get Caught in the Net, and listen to the live interview. At the end of this episode, we're going to upload the video portion, so you'll have all of that there as well. But right now you can listen to it, and or you can come over to Facebook, ANet Get Caught in the Net. My page is open, so if we're not friends, it's still okay. You can still listen to us and watch us there. Let's see. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful topic on today, because this book alone that you have pinned, the title of it grabs just about everybody. Now, let me throw this in here. You guys, you need to listen all the way through on today, because I do have a surprise. I do have a gift giveaway on today. We are going to be giving away one of the books written by Katherine, and it could be you. It could be you. I'm going to ask a question and see if you guys can answer it. It'll be simple enough. So yeah, that is our giveaway on today. So let's just jump right in. And when you guys come in, I'll acknowledge if you have any questions, comments for my guest. Please make sure you throw that into the comment section. Also, I'm also on Instagram as well, live. So those of you over there, I appreciate you for joining us as well. So let's jump. Hey, Beatrice, I see you. Yes, I'm jumping. I'm jumping with my shoulders too. Okay, so you guys already heard me state in her bio that she is a trauma responsive advocate. Now, Katherine, there's a quote that I have seen, and on your page, and as you've been promoting this book, you have here, it's time to heal and live a dynamic life. Now, can you tell me maybe in a few words, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, I'll use as few words as I can.
Or you can use many.
Okay. When I say it's time to heal, first of all, that comes with acknowledging some things that we may or may not want to acknowledge, beginning to work through those things, how they may have impacted us and maybe still impact us today, not in the most positive way. Okay, knowing all along that this is a process, and then live the dynamic life is that many times trauma from the past, especially early trauma, affects us way into our adulthood throughout the trajectory of our lives that we may not even realize. And so what I mean by living a dynamic life is that being free from those things, understanding who you are today, and you're not the same person, nor you're in the same position that you were when you experienced the trauma, not letting those things hold you back, and just go ahead and live your most potential, dynamic, explosive life. That's really what I wish for each and every individual. And so as I began this journey, that really became clear. Whatever the past has happened in the past, acknowledging, working through, and still being as dynamic as we each can individually be.
I love it, because within that quote and what you've explained, I hear it helps, because people too many times push that trauma to the side, or what we have gone through, and maybe not acknowledge it. Maybe I can say it like that.
Yes.
And when you do that, it's almost like you're trying to, and I know we're trying to forget some of the things we've gone through, some of the things we've dealt with. But sometimes we have to touch on it. We have to address it. We have to even recognize where it's coming from, the reason why I'm acting this way now.
Yes.
Or the reason why I'm reacting this way. There's a reason behind it. And I had a guest on. I was talking with you yesterday as we were doing our test. Joyce Graham. She's an author, and her book is entitled "Mental Health Issues in the 21st Century Church."
Okay.
And so sometimes too often, and your book talks about biblical families. Too often in the church, we really don't want to touch on this stuff. You know, and of course, you guys know I'm not knocking the church. I grew up in church. That's where I come from.
Exactly.
But we don't, in the church, we don't really address stuff. We just push it away, sweep it under the rug, you know, or don't want to talk about it. But I'm grateful, and you've probably witnessed this as well, that it seems like in the past, I'm not sure how long, but people have really been trying to open up more and more. You know, about whether it's mental issues, traumatic issues, ACEs. I saw that in your book as well. So I think we're kind of moving toward where we need to be.
Yes, as we should.
As we should.
As we should.
Right.
And sometimes we feel like, you know, you can be a Christian, you can accept Christ, you can be working in his church, but you can still have unresolved issues and trauma. And so one does not, you know, negate the other. And so therefore our churches, that 21st century part in that book, you know, our churches, you know, is a place where people are supposed to come. It's supposed to be a hospital, right? So people can come. And it's not only for, you know, they need physical healing, but mentally and emotionally, you know, we need healing. And so we have to be equipped in our churches and our religious organizations to say that this is ministry too. Hard as it may be, we need some trained staff and people that can do it, and even some clinical resources. But we have to address it. And so, yes, I am so glad that many more churches, and it's being talked about more, and it's less of a taboo, and we need to keep that going.
Yeah, we definitely need to keep it going. I think another thing that helps too, you know, because people always try to relate themselves to whether it's entertainment industry, sports industry, and they are opening up more and more and more. You know, you can find some actor or something or some sports figure that's opening up about their mental health struggles or the absence of mental health, you know, if you will. Who's that? Naomi Osaka. You know, she pulled out of a huge tournament because she was dealing with, you know, depression and other things. And so when we see that, you know, on the big screen, if you will, we see that in the news, it kind of, you know, it helps us a little bit more. It's like, okay, you know what? I can talk about this. I should deal with this.
Yes.
And it's not just me,
it's
you
not
know?
Just me. It's not just me. Exactly. Someone else who recently, I was talking about Jasmine Sullivan recently in the last maybe 6 months. I don't really know when it was, but she accepted an award. And I'm not sure if you heard her talk about, you know, in the past, I would shy away from events like this because I didn't want anyone to see me because of the way that I looked. And I'm looking at her and I'm saying, you are beautiful, talented, beautiful. And so it just goes into our perception of ourselves. Sometimes it's so skewed. Okay. And I was talking to you yesterday about this curriculum that I'm developing. That's one of the first parts of it is defining ourselves, how we define ourselves, and how it is so skewed and is so far away from how the Lord defines us. If we would really look at ourselves, how He defines us, you know. And so I think that having someone like that, like you said, with a big platform, come out and say, I had these insecurities, but even now I'm learning that, you know what, I've got to come out. I've got to come out from behind whatever I'm hiding behind, and I have got to go out and deal with this fear that I have, or not accepting myself because of the way that I look.
Yeah, I think I did hear bits and pieces of I didn't actually see her speech, but I think I heard about it. And wow, so that's amazing that you're starting out with that, with this curriculum, because that's key. That's
Yes.
key. You know,
Yes.
that this is what you're trying to address. So yeah, we have to start with, ourselves, or really working on that self-esteem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it's been pulled down too much.
It's been pulled down. And so many other people have defined us along the way. So whether it be from the people who raised us, or whether it was in school with bullies, or something about our size, it's so many different ways we look at ourselves because of someone else's definition. But in order to really move beyond that and be dynamic, we have to begin to define ourselves the way God defines us. And then we have to look at those things, that we have to look at our strengths, because that's why we're here. The areas that I'm strong in, I'm supposed to use those gifts that I have to help someone that's weak in that area. And the areas where I am weak in, I am supposed to be able to find someone who is strong in that area to help me be stronger in the areas that I'm weakest in. And that's really how it should work. And so that's the part of some of the things that I really want to get into with individuals, like in the group type setting.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Hey, you're on the right track. I love it. I love the mentality that you have, and it's going to help somebody. It's already helping somebody.
All right. I receive that.
That's right. That's right. We have to think, because sometimes we think, okay, I want to help somebody, but I'm just doing this little bit over here. And sometimes we may think it's just a little bit, and it's not really doing, a whole lot, but it's part of a big picture.
Exactly.
Exactly. And whatever God gives you to do, then you do it, in the spirit of excellence.
Yes.
And making sure that you're dotting every I and crossing every T. It is helping somebody. It is. I know it is. I know.
All right. I received that.
All right. I don't know why. I just had to get that in, just to encourage you a little bit.
I appreciate it.
We are helpers one to another. That is for sure. Let me read some comments on here. I see you. Deidre says, defining ourselves. Yes. Introspection is key. That's true. Mm-hmm. We stay busy trying to fix and correct others. Mm-hmm. All the while we need to check ourselves first. That is so true. You usually ain't saying nothing but a word there, Deidre. I totally agree with that. And what I do, and I'm just going to throw this in here too. A lot of times when I am praying in my own personal devotion, I'm like, Lord, I want to humble myself. I was just this morning, I'm like, I want to get down low. I just want to get down low. I want to get my face to the ground, and just humble myself, because number one, of course, I definitely want to hear what God is saying, to me, what he wants me to do. And, so I need to get rid of that self,
Exactly.
It ain't about me anyway,
Yes.
It's not.
Yes. We all do. I know I do, because just doing what I'm doing now is not in my character. And so when you say get rid of self, I hold back a lot of times on my gift. And that's selfish, because the things that I have are meant for others. Okay. But when I hold back, then I make it about me, because I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to go and talk about this, and I don't want to be on live, or I don't want to be on social media. So that's how I relate to being in self, because that's selfish. Because what I have, I'm supposed to give. That's my usefulness that I'm supposed to give. So it took me a while and I'm still working through that. In that, when I say it's not about me, but it's not about me. So go ahead and give the gift that you have to other people, because it's not about me.
Yeah.
Oh, so I struggle in that area.
Okay. You know what? we all have a work to do, on ourselves. But yeah, oh, that's good. That's how you're making me think. You're making me
I
think.
make it about me. It's not even about me.
Not
Make
at
it
all.
about me. You're just the vessel.
Right, exactly. Right. I don't want to be the right vessel too,
Yes, yes, yes,
Elder,
exactly.
Elder McGee, I see you on here. Thank you so much. Elder McGee did pen a poem for us on today, so we'll be playing that before we end on today, relating to today's topic. And as I was listening to it, I was like, "Oh my God, you would think he had read your book."
Ah,
We'll get it in. We'll get it in. So let's see here. Let me hop right here, making sure I am addressing everything. My next question. All right. So we did talk about this title that's catching everybody's attention. How did you even come up with this title?
I recently did a personal assessment, and I scored very high in the area of thinking. So, but when I say that, that automatically means I'm an overthinker, to the point where I'm thinking about it, and not doing nothing. So I'm an overthinker. And as I was trying to think of something that would be, some that I wanted it to be like catchy, and dealing with these families, and to narrow in and really focus on their dysfunction. The Lord gave it to me, really, Descendants of Dysfunction. And I told somebody, and somebody said, that sounds like a book. Now, this was probably 2 years ago, 2020,
Okay.
2019, 2020. The first person I told, that sounds like a book. And I was like, I don't know. And so, but now it is a book. And I knew that it would be like, what's that about? Because we always talk about, people in the Bible and everything that they did that was just wonderful, and they did this, and they were a great warrior, and they did all these things for God. But it's a whole lot of dysfunction in these families. And I wanted to talk about that, but then I wanted to bring a modern twist to this. So if someone is experiencing some of those things in their family, it would be a catalyst for them to like, for example, in the first chapter, try to mend a family rift. So if this is happening in your family and you have a family rift, which that's the first chapter about Cain and Abel, because I believe that there were other things going on prior to him basically murdering his brother. And we know of families where things have just kind of went haywire really quick, and somebody really end up getting hurt, and the family is estranged from one another. And so I talked about that from the standpoint of, is this your family? So the book has the scripture reference. Then I do a little blurb giving like my synopsis of the scripture. And then I talk about what makes them dysfunctional, because it may be, like elementary to you or me, like why they're dysfunctional. But you even have people in their own families that normal things that happen in the family, they don't see it as dysfunction because it's their normal. So in every chapter I say, why is this family dysfunctional? And then the last part is this your family? If this is your family or a family that you know, this section says, if you want to be the catalyst to mend the family rift, here are some of the things that you might want to do. And every chapter is set out that same way.
Yeah. It's well written in that. I love the structure, and how you set up and how you mentioned about what you do at the end of every chapter, because it is definitely a book that is going to make you think and examine yourself, your family, see, hey, do I fall in here? Does my family fall in this? And you may find your family in a couple of them, or maybe
in a couple of them.
It just, and I love how you're just relating it. So I didn't know. So you came up with basically with the title before you had the book written.
Oh yeah, I came up with the title. I have titles for a total of 3 books right now. So I have 2 more titles that I already have. And so this was the first one. And it's it's kind of like an umbrella book. And then the other 2 are more narrowed down, more specific. And so this is like the umbrella book, just starting conversations about family dysfunction. So yes, I had the title way before I wrote the book.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, now that's a writer right there, y'all. That's a writer.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I definitely had the title before. And as I went through, because I got about 15, I did 7 in this book, but I have about 7 or 8 more that, I could do a second one or a third one of this different ones of this dysfunction in biblical families.
Yeah.
So, but this is the beginning. So.
Okay. I get it. And, you actually kind of segued me into another question with that, because, you have about, what is it? 7 chapters, right? And of dysfunctional families in the Bible. And so as I was reading, I'm like, wow, okay, now how did she even get to even choose, the ones that she has in here? So I did want to ask you that question because you had a lot to choose from.
Yes, I do have a lot to choose from. And, I wanted to look at, I don't know if I'm the only one sitting in church thinking like this, or reading passages and thinking like this. But if you look at chapter 2, I have never heard anybody even preach or approach the fact that Abram basically sold his wife to another man, which was Pharaoh. Because remember when they left, and all the family, we hear about Abraham's great faith. He didn't question God. He just went. Okay, that's good. But I'm reading this story, like along the way, he got scared and said that was his sister. And of course, she was fair. She was very beautiful. The Bible tells us that. And Pharaoh wanted her in his own harem. But I'm thinking as a wife. And so that's where the modern day twist comes in. Because back in those times, women were really like, I don't want to say property, but they really had no say. They had no power. They had no say. And so this, I guess, would not have been out of the ordinary. But I'm thinking about 2021, 2022, and relating it to if you have a selfish spouse, a spouse that makes decisions that affect you. Their decisions affect you, but they don't take you into consideration. And so I have never heard anyone look at that. We always talk about Abraham and his great faith, and that's good and that's fine. And we know that Abraham is the father. We know that. Okay, the father of nations. Okay, his descendants would be many, many, many. Okay, but what about this part right here for someone who is going through that their spouse continues to make decisions that affect their family and is a detriment to the family, but have no consideration for anyone else? I wanted to look. I wanted to look at that. And so you saying how did I come up with these? Some of them were like looking at it in a different way, looking at the story in a different way. And then when you look at the 3rd chapter and how Sarah and Hagar and Abraham, you think about a love triangle, right? You think about the fact that they were a blended family. And there's so many of our families that are what we call blended. And so I wanted to have something in there for them, like how am I going to make it through this experience? How am I going to go on? Some people are there like, okay, this person is through with me, but I'm not through with them. And how do I deal with those emotions and still be able to do right, by those children that are in the home watching all of this They're watching what's going on between the adults in the blended family, and you can get through it, and you can make it the best that you can, or it could be a nightmare for everybody.
Oh man. Oh, see, okay, listen, I hope you guys are listening to what she's saying. Listen, let me do a little station break here.
Okay.
Yeah, they can go to Amazon, right?
They can go to Amazon, but if they go to because it's more on Amazon, they can go to I don't know if I can write it in the
Is it your publisher?
No, it's the
Your
name
website?
of the book, Descendants of Dysfunction book.com.
Okay, so I'm going to type that in, guys. You can either go to Amazon or you can go to this website that I'm typing in to get this book. You want this book, whether it is for yourself, whether it's for your church groups. This is something that you need to purchase. I read the book in one day.
That's the reason why I set it up like this, because each chapter, I set it up as the 7-study Bible study as well, because each chapter is standalone. And so you can take each chapter, if you wanted to use it in a group, and do a series of, 7 Bible studies or however many you want, because each chapter really does, stand alone. So yeah, that's why I kind of
set it up that way.
All
right.
It's a study in Old Testament families and their dysfunction.
All right, guys, if you look down at the bottom, I am going to pin this comment, which is simply the website where you can purchase the book. This is the other option as opposed to Amazon. So you have the two options. Descendants of Dysfunction book.com is the website. And you can go there. I was starting to say that I was out of town for a few days, and when I got back, my book was here for me. So I read it in one day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an easy read.
Yes.
It's definitely an easy read. But again, it's something like we mentioned earlier. It's going to make you think. It's going to make you analyze. It's going to make you, look at your own family. And when she was talking about that, chapter 2, she said she never really heard of that being preached on or taught in the church about Abram and Sarai at that point.
Sarai, right.
Dealing with the selfish spouse. I've never heard it brought out that way. The way you brought it out in the book.
Yeah.
This is wise. This is some wisdom right here. She's bringing this out in a way that I've never really heard it before, but it does make you think, about spouses and the decisions, that you make, that
affect the family,
so we have to make sure that we are doing the right stuff. Dysfunctional families. I'm trying to be nice. I'm really trying to be nice on today. Okay, let's see, guys. Let's see. Buddy Gill is here. He said that is quite an eye-catching book title. Yes, everybody says that. Got to get the book. You have to get
Descendants of Dysfunction.
Yes. And see, at the bottom here, it says what we can learn from the Bible's dysfunctional families. All right.
Yes.
That's where that comes in, talking about the Bible. So don't get thrown off. That is in there. I do see my Aunt Robbie has joined us. Thank you, Auntie. Hi. I appreciate you. But yeah, this is, you know what? And as you were talking, let me throw this in here too. Speaking of family, I had a cousin of mine who, oh God, it's probably been about maybe almost going on 10 years, came to me and asked me, would I sit down with, this was a younger cousin, would I sit down with them and kind of talk to them about some of the family, whether it was any dysfunction in the family or anything that they needed to know, because they were younger. I mean, they're younger than I am, but they're getting older. And so they wanted to know, was there something that you could talk to me about, maybe share with me, about certain things within our family? And they did, specify certain things they wanted to know. And that this just kind of made me think of it, because, there may be some dysfunction in your family. And
Yes.
we're not necessarily saying that everybody is, kind of, woo, out
Yeah.
there, whatever. But, and that doesn't mean dysfunction in your family, means like you're an outcast or you're an anomaly or something like that. Your family is that. But, we all address things. We all have things we have to deal with. So
Yes.
this book is going to help you. I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
So yeah, that reminded me of that.
And they may even, people in families, like, you don't know what actually happened, but as the family gathers and interacts, those younger generations, they pick up on things. They pick up on those, when we're talking about our family systems, they pick up on those triads. So like in those diet, they pick up on who is always together and who don't never have nothing to do with that person. Like, this auntie don't never have nothing to do with that auntie, but that auntie and that auntie, they always together. It's something, that we think that we are, nobody can see it. But as we interact with one another, the other family members can see, it's something there that's it's something that's just not right. Something happened. And, I hang out with, and then when I talked about a family rift, it has what I call in the book collateral damage. Because if I have a sister and that's my sister and we close, then I got this other sister, my children are going to be close with the sister that I hang out with. Those are the cousins they're going to be close with. And they're trying to figure out why we don't ever go with our other cousins. And so they become collateral damage because then they don't have those relationships, those generational relationships are not carried forward. So you may think that you're not hurting anybody by having this family rift and not trying to mend it. Not saying that it's going to be easy, but the collateral damage is they didn't have anything to do with why the rift started, but they are affected by it.
Yeah. Casualties of war.
Exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, that is so important. And, I think as you go from generation to generation, this is just going to be important to handle, important to tackle. Just as we mentioned about, mental health issues, it has to be addressed.
Yes,
it has to be addressed. Okay. All right. So you did answer the question as to why you chose
these ones,
different families.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on, but that's the general reason why. These are the ones that if you go to church and been in any church anytime, you have heard sermons preached about these people. So they should be somewhat known. Yeah. Even though my look on it may be different, but you should have maybe have heard some of these things. And of course I end with Joseph and I talk about dynamic despite dysfunction. And that's where that dynamic comes in. He was dynamic, and I want everybody, even though you've had some dysfunction, to still be dynamic.
Right.
So I had to talk about Joseph.
Okay.
And him being dynamic because of what he went through, and not only what he went through, but because of his giftedness. And so I want to bring that out in my curriculum as well, because we all have at least one gift that we have been bestowed by God. Has given everybody at least one gift. Now, Joseph, I know just from reading about him, he had at least three. In that he had the gift of administration, he had the gift of dream interpretation, and then he had another gift that I was thinking of earlier, because we know that he interpreted dreams, but he had some issues too, So, but nonetheless, he was dynamic despite dysfunction, and so I had to talk about him. Had to talk about that family.
Now tell me why, and I know this is kind of, I'm taking myself out of my sequence of questions, but why do you think that that's so important to mention the dynamic aspect of an individual? Why do you think that is so key?
I think it's so key because I think it's so much untapped potential inside of each and every one of us. And I think that early unresolved trauma has a part to play in us not tapping that potential that we have within us. So when I talk about descendants of dysfunction, and then that, like I told you, I'm a thinker. I'm a thinker. Like, okay, dynamic despite dysfunction. Dynamic despite dysfunction. So all of these things I'm mulling over in my mind. I mean, I might just be driving, or I might just be cooking, or I might just be whatever I'm doing. And so when I feel a thought of mine, it has some inspiration, I just go to my phone and put it in my notes. And then I can always go back to it, because you don't know if that moment of inspiration is going to come back like it did that time. Yeah. So I have to keep track of my moments of inspiration. Eventually, like this came out to be a book, Descendants of Dysfunction. You can be dynamic despite dysfunction.
Yeah, I love that answer. I love your response. Because too many times we are seeing individuals, we'll start from the young people on up, our children who don't feel like they're dynamic. They don't feel like it. And you already mentioned earlier about, with your curriculum, you want to start with the individual. Yes. And I think that that's so important to make sure that they know that you're dynamic, babe. You are dynamic.
You're dynamic.
Yeah.
And the group aspect is that I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I've got a disclaimer in my book. This is not mental health counseling. Certainly seek those services. If you want to seek those services, I say that all the time, even though I have a master's degree in counseling. But I don't have everything within me that someone needs. And so the group aspect is that the peers, they become a sounding board, and it becomes a place where people can meet other people and feel comfort and kinship with another person, and don't think that, oh, I'm out here by myself. Maybe you see everybody and you think their families are whatever they are. You don't know what's going on in that family. Okay. But there can be some kinship and some friendship, and those relationships can be even expanded, because sometimes we do have to create our own family. Sometimes we have to create our own family. And yeah, so I'm not saying that's not true, because sometimes we have to create our own family. We try and try and try, and we just have to go another route.
Love it. We connect because I'm a thinker too. We connect because we have so many similarities, and so it's easy to talk to you, and it's easy to understand, when you pen books like this, where you're coming from. So I love it. Apostle Dion, I see that you're on. Carolyn Jarrell Smith, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming in. If you are just now joining us, we are talking today with my guest, Katherine Staten, and she has penned the book, Descendants of Dysfunction, What We Can Learn from the Bible's Dysfunctional Families. And once you purchase the book, I'm not going to say if, once you purchase the book, you can look in here and maybe you can kind of relate to some of these families that she has highlighted here. Yes. And, it's important to know that just because you are saved, just because you're Christian, doesn't mean that there's no dysfunction in your family. Exactly. What you want to do is to try your best to have it addressed so that you can get beyond it. And, And then you know what? Pay it forward, help someone else. So
Yes.
we have placed in the comment section, and did I ever pin that? Let me see. The comment section, the actual website where you can purchase this book. Okay, it's pinned at the bottom of the Facebook Live. You can go to descendantsofdysfunctionbook.com. So the name of the book, descendantsofdysfunctionbook.com, to purchase this book, or go on Amazon. I think it's a little bit cheaper on the website.
It is.
Of Dysfunction as opposed to Amazon. But I encourage you, support my sister. Support her.
Thank you.
We need to support each other. We really do. And on today, I did mention at the beginning of the segment, if you're just not joining us, I'm going to do a giveaway, a giveaway of one of the books on today. So let me throw this in here now. The question that I want to ask you guys. So I need you to get your little fingers ready to type into the comment section, whether you're here on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. I'm going to ask this question, and the first person to answer it, I'm going to be looking to see who the first person is to answer it. You know, as it comes up, it'll show me. And then you can receive this book. I'll mail it to you. All right, guys. So my question is, let me see. And this is really simple. I want you to name a dysfunctional family in the Bible. Name a dysfunctional family in the Bible. All right. Some of you may know some already. And it doesn't matter if one of the families that you name are who's in the book
or not. You're right.
Doesn't matter. I just want you to name a dysfunctional family. Okay. All right. You name it. I see you, Araceli. Now tell me why Noah was a dysfunctional family. That's the bonus question.
All right, Noah.
Tell me why Noah was a dysfunctional family, Araceli. And you know,
something.
Right. Just a few words. Look, she's throwing other names in here. David. Okay.
Yes.
Araceli, you are going to be my winner, but I just need you to tell me why you say Noah was a dysfunctional family. It's okay. No oops.
Oops.
Because she put in more than one response. That's why she's saying that. And so we'll make sure to get this book out to you on today, Araceli. But again, please make sure you throw in the comment section why you said Noah was a dysfunctional family, because you actually threw that kind of quick. So I want to know what your reason was why you said
said Noah.
Yes. She also said David as well. And you know what, guys? Yes. Even though she has won, you guys can throw in some more dysfunctional families in the comment section as well on today as we continue this conversation. She said, was it the kids mess with father? Oh, you thinking, wait, who's that?
You thinking the incest? She's talking about incest?
I think that's what is that what you're referring to, Araceli? Just make it a little bit clearer for me. That might be what she's talking about. And she's right?
Or when they saw him naked.
Yeah, I think that's what she's talking about.
I don't know. Yeah. But with the kids, I don't know if that's what she's talking about, but yeah.
She said yes.
It's definitely some. I'm telling you, these families provide wonderful material on dysfunction.
Okay.
They provide just and not to, like I said, one of the other things that I talk about is also how God can use somebody. They can have dysfunction in their family, but they can still be used by God. So I don't want anyone to think that I am discounting the spirituality and how God, say for instance, used David, but we know that family, there's a lot going on in that family. I talk about the rape of Tamar, healing from family secrets in chapter 6.
Come on.
You know, we always hear that David was a man, what? after God's own heart. And that's what the Lord, that's what the Bible says. And I believe that to be true. But I think I got a line in the Bible that says in some instances his heart was far away from his family and the things that happened in that family. And so that is dysfunction. That's dysfunction, but he was a man after God's own heart. How do we reconcile that dysfunction and even thinking about our spiritual leaders in our churches today? They are not perfect.
Mm-mm.
But guess what? God can still use them to accomplish his purpose, the purpose that he has for their life. And I think that we really don't want to even get into that dysfunction part. We just want to look at, oh, he's a man after God's own heart. But it was some other things going on too. But guess what? God still used him. God says he was a man after his heart. That's what God said. I can't disagree with that.
No, not at all.
When we're looking at the dysfunction in that family, you know, it was rape, it was murder. All of these things went on in his family. And so, you know, I kind of talk about that a little bit and want to related to the modern day family is that how can we begin to heal from family secrets, things that we think is best to keep it a secret. First of all, it's not no secret. More people probably know about it than you think. But you think it's a secret. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But speaking to the fact that we do have family secrets.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the people who end up being hurt the most by the family secret, in the fact that we don't have any accountability and responsibility for the perpetrator, is the person who's already been victimized, is the one who seems to, be hurt the most from a family secret. And I talk a little bit about scapegoating, being a scapegoat,
right,
in this chapter as well. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just brought that up. I don't know where you are with your questions and stuff. So let me just stop and pull back and let you.
No, that's good stuff. I was, as we were trying to clarify what Araceli was saying, she did say yes. She was mentioning about the nakedness.
Okay, so it's probably yeah.
And I was about to ask, because I saw some apostles on here. I was about to ask them to clarify for me. And one did already before me even asking. He said Ham witnessed the nakedness of his father, and that's true. So that's what she was referring to. And yeah, that's something, because that's just deep. When you think about that story, I don't know how many of you all know about that story, but when you think about it, it's into, when I first read that story, when I was young years ago, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. I was thinking that when I was young, that was brutal. That was a good descriptive word of it. But that was just something that they, that was not something he should have done, was supposed to. And, so it brought on so much, with him, seeing the nakedness of his father. So, Araceli, again, you are the winner of this book. Now, I am going to ask you guys you can throw in some more dysfunctional families in the Bible into the comment section. The next, let me see. Yeah, the next person that throws another dysfunctional family in and tell me why you're saying that, or why you mentioned that particular family, I'm going to go ahead and purchase another book and I will send it to you. That'll be another gift, a gift from me. All right. So the next person, go ahead. As we're talking on today, just throw it in there, another dysfunctional family in the Bible. And again, the reason why we're bringing this out is because, we may have seen it within our own families. We may see it in the news, entertainment industry, sports, whatever. We may see it all around us. Sometimes we may not recognize it as being dysfunctional, But when you kind of pull it out and, go into detail, just like Katherine has done in her book, then you can kind of, understand it a little bit more and relate to it. But then I love the way her book does not leave you hanging. It has you to examine. It has you to reflect. She's got a page for reflections. This is a good book for Bible study, and the way I'm telling you, the way she set it up is very, very good for us. All right, so let me see, where did I go? Yes, we kind of went around the block a little bit and coming back around. So you already talked about the history. Did you talk about the history behind writing this book? I know you talked about the title.
No, I didn't really talk about the history.
Okay, can you just share a little bit about the history for those that just joined us?
As I was, I've done a lot of self-study, done a lot of personal development around trauma, how it affects us. And I was really looking for a way to bring it down and make it more for the individual. I was looking for a way, to do that, because I really want to help people that basically adults. And one of the reasons for that is because if I grew up and I had some dysfunction in my family and it has not been addressed, and then I have children, then, I'm impacting a whole nother generation that will impact another generation. And so I think that it's so important to look at it in that way, how we affect generations in our families, for the positive and the negative in certain ways. I even in the book, I talk about, what makes a family strong. In one of the chapters, I talk about the birthright and that was passed down. And I talk about we should be in a position to pass something down. I mean something physical. A house, something. And so I talk a little bit about that in the book, because it just needs to be said. In the generations, I should have something to leave somebody. And so we need to talk about that, even though it can be uncomfortable to talk about. But the history behind it is that, of course, I've probably been in church all my life, married to a pastor for 40 years. He pastored for 40 years, just recently retired at the end of 2021. So all of the sermons, that I've heard, I've never really heard some of the things that I talk about. And I guess throughout all those years, it was almost just like a sleeping giant or something, because it was all these thoughts were already in my mind. And then when I went down this road of trying to help us be more conscious of trauma and help individuals, came up with the title, I said, well, I'm gonna look at these families and look at some of these questions that I have not heard no sermons about. I ain't heard no sermon about getting your mistress pregnant and then wait a minute, then she had to go, then your wife got mad, so she had to go out and leave because the wife started treating the mistress so bad, but then you cooked up this whole stew. And when the stew got ready, you didn't want to eat none of it. It was too much for you to eat.
It was too spicy.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And I just had never heard these Bible stories like talked about in that way. And I'm always thinking about this in my mind. They did what? And they did what? Even though now, let's say this, we know that was biblical times. And so, like I said, women didn't have power, didn't have a voice. Hagar could do nothing. She was a slave girl. Okay, we know that. But I'm bringing it up to today because we really oftentimes don't look at all of the emotions that go into that. Mm-hmm. And how when she went into the wilderness after she was pregnant, and I said in the book, I don't know if Abram was patting on her belly too much or what. I don't know what was going on, but some kind of way Sarah was like, she just wasn't jiving with her. So she had to go, Hagar had to go into the wilderness and cry, and God met her there. Thank you, Lord. That's a whole nother chapter that can be written about that.
Yes.
Maybe that's in the next book. But then the Lord told her, go ahead and go back. Go ahead and go back. But anyway, I could go on and on. But that's kind of the history behind it. When I started thinking, I had the title already. When I started thinking about it, I just started writing down these families. And once I wrote down the individuals, then I wrote down the subchapters.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you look at chapter 5, Jacob and Esau? And instead of parents promoting sibling rivalry, which is what their parents did, one was a dyad, two together, because Esau was his father's favorite, and Rebecca loved Jacob, so they were kind of like paired off.
Yeah.
So they promoted sibling rivalry.
They did.
But I want to turn that around and say, how can we promote sibling harmony and the importance of sibling relationships? Not just when you're growing up in the house together, but all throughout your life, the support and the kinship that you can have with your siblings all the way through your life, not just at home when you minors, when you grow into adulthood, the importance of those sibling relationships and how we should promote harmony and not rivalry.
Man, that's
so,
deep. That's
I don't know. Like I said, I don't take credit for it. The Lord, gave it to me. I don't take credit.
It's just evident you are a real thinker. You really are. But it's something. And when you talked about that sibling rivalry as opposed to sibling harmony, I think that, oh my God, when you brought that out, because you're not going to be at home all the time. You're going to grow up. You're going to, go to school. You're going to, start your own family. So you're not going to be in the same household, with your siblings all the time. That's just not how it, would normally work out.
Right.
So it is going to be important to make sure that you have that harmony between your siblings and not have that dysfunction of that rivalry going on.
Mm-hmm. You was the favorite. You always got this and you got that. And that some of that stuff carries into adulthood.
It does. And then one is going to be resenting the other, and, whatever they are trying to accomplish, one is probably going to always shoot it down, or not pay any attention to it, or not support at all. Because that sibling rivalry is so fresh and it has never been addressed.
Never been.
It just keeps growing and growing. It's bigger than the siblings themselves. So I think that's so important. I'm so appreciative of how I was brought up. My mom told my siblings and I that we were each other's best friends. And if we get into any kind of fights with each other, you would have to answer to her, no fighting in this house. You all are siblings, you're blood related. And I'm sure many of you that are even watching now, you probably were brought up the same way. But, sometimes it can get out of hand sometimes with siblings, if you have that one who's the favorite of the mama, and one who's the favorite of the daddy, or what have you. So we can't have that, because, one is going to feel like, oh, I'm not loved. And one is going to feel I'm superior. I am loved, what have you.
Right.
So all of that is so important. And I had no clue. I didn't know that your husband was a pastor for so long. So I see where all these thoughts are coming from too.
Girl.
Spiritual aspect.
Right.
Aspect.
Right. Well, they preaching about it, but why don't nobody ever say nothing about that part of it?
Right. And again, you're not, tearing it apart
No.
or anything like that, but you just want to know why, because it's there in black and white. So
They're in black and white.
we need to address this. I see you, Dr. Lord Michael Hunt. I appreciate you for coming in and also for sharing. I did see you share earlier. We're talking today with my guest, Katherine Staten, and the title of her book is Descendants of Dysfunction: What We Can Learn from the Bible's Dysfunctional Families. And Dr. Hunt, I think this is a book that you would it's an easy read. I think that you would love this book as well. You talk, I love your ministry and how you expound on the word of God. And I think this will be beneficial to read. Let's see here. Okay. So my last guest, and I think we talked about Dr. Joyce Graham earlier with her book, Mental Health Issues in the 21st Century. So, how did you feel? Because of course, her book and your book, deals with the church, deals with the Bible. How did you feel hesitant, writing this book or wanting to address this book about the church, if you will, or the Bible? Was there hesitancy on your part? And if so, how did you deal with that? Knowing that, some church folks are probably going to say, what's she talking about?
Yeah, what's she talking about? There was hesitancy. I kind of spoke to it, earlier about so many things that I'm doing now are out of my character, even doing videos, because I got some videos about the chapters. I did a video for each chapter when the book came out. And then I have some what I call bonus videos, that talk about. So when I talk about the second chapter, when Sarai went into the harem, I did a bonus video about what life was like in a harem, because when we think about a harem, we just think about it's a place where a whole bunch of women laying around, like waiting to be the king's fantasy or whatever. That's what we think about when we think about harem. But as I did my research about harems, I found out, that they were much, much more. So I have bonus videos for each chapter that kind of, give some detail surrounding that chapter. But I definitely was hesitant just because this is really not a part of my personality. So hesitancy in that, and hesitancy because I tend to be a little different than maybe what people are maybe accustomed to. Like for a pastor's wife or for a minister's wife, I tend to be a little different. And so when you're not like a part of the norm, or you do things differently, putting yourself out there, it can make you uncomfortable. But I have learned to accept, that I'm different, and some things that is placed value, that value is placed on in terms of how we place value on appearances. We're very superficial in some of the things that we do to judge a person's worth. We can be very superficial. And so that's a fear as well when you are different. And then the mere fact that the title and talking about what some would consider to be negativity. Why are you talking about that negativity? But it's in the Bible. Yeah, it's in the Bible. It's not anything that I made up. This happened. And if we can use the Bible to help people in 2022 to mend their family rifts, or if we can help parents to recognize the role that they're playing in either creating harmony or rivalry between their children. If we can take somebody who maybe was in foster care, and even though Joseph's story was that he was sold into slavery, still he was disconnected from his family, not by choice. And if they can relate to themselves and say, hey, I can be dynamic despite dysfunction, isn't that what the Bible is for?
Yeah.
So yes, there was hesitancy, but it was overwhelming that I should write it and put it out there and just let the chips fall where they may.
I love that attitude because obviously, you didn't let that deter you, your hesitancy about writing it and or what kind of responses that you were going to get from it. And can I say, or can I ask, did you feel that I really, really need to move forward with this because there is so much trauma and mental health issues and dysfunction in the church? And I mean, again, that's your background. That's where you came up. That
Right.
you're the spouse of a pastor. You grew up in
Right.
church,
Yes.
and so I was feeling that because let's say, just say it like this: you're in an organization, but you want to help the people in the organization.
Yes. Yes.
So to speak. So would you kind
Yeah.
of with that? That's what your mentality.
That's what my mentality is. And I think that even, in some of the ways of the stories in the Bible and what I brought out, you can tell that I look at things like with another view. I can see the obvious. I can see the obvious, but then I can also see some of the things that someone else may not see and say, like, why is that? Or how can we fix that? Or what can we do about it? And so when I started in 2019 with my website, Flourish and Grow, I was thinking I wanted, like I said, to think of a way to narrow this down so that individuals can actually begin to look at, their own families and, see how they can be better. We want our families to be better. And I definitely want people to reach down and get some of that untapped potential that they have and use it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's, like I said, that's why I wrote it. I got two more titles that I already have. And I have a whole nother 8 chapters similar to the format that I wrote here. But it was just the beginning, and I have always been a person, even in my secular employment. Once I learned how to do something, I'm pretty much through with it. Like I always want a challenge. This right here, it definitely was a challenge.
Okay.
And so I always look for a challenge. And so this has definitely kept me busy.
Okay. Now, how long did it take you to write this book?
I started writing the book in October, and I actually finished writing the book. It was through formatting and everything. It was ready to be printed in January.
Of this year?
Of this year. So I started in October, and it was ready to be printed in January.
Okay.
And then I actually came out with it in March. I believe that's when I actually came out. The books were here, and I was talking about it. So that was kind of my process.
Okay. Well, it
took me 3 months to write the book.
Yeah, that's not long at all.
October, November, December to
Right.
write the book.
Right. Huh. Okay. And as a thinker, were you constantly, did you change out families? Or were these always the families that you were focusing on?
Well, what I did was I started with my top 10, and then I narrowed it down to the 7. Because remember, I got some more already, but the top 10, and then I said, well, I'm gonna do 7 this time, seven chapters, and that's how I did it. That's how I narrowed it down.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense. You have to figure something out because, like I said, there's a whole lot of them you can choose from.
Exactly. But I'm just taking baby steps, and then we went back and forth with the cover so many times. With the effect? I wanted a certain effect. So the title, when they sent me the first book cover, it was like people were smiling, and I was like, that's a disconnect between the title. Yeah, we can't be smiling, but I didn't want them to be fighting. Then they sent me one where people was in conversations and they was, you could tell that there was tension. I didn't want that either. So this was kind of like a happy medium. The people don't look too excited to be in the picture with the other people, especially if you look at the top right-hand corner.
Yeah.
And then if you look in different places, especially where you see the title in the middle of the book, it's some people behind there too. And so that's significant to me because sometimes people are not seen in our families. They're in our families, but they are not seen, and they're in the shadows. They're in the shadows, and they feel like they're not seen. And then, of course, we have someone on here who was differently abled, signified with the wheelchair. Mm-hmm. So our families, they make up, just everything that you can think of. And so I wanted that to be represented here.
I see. And I love the fact the little tape. Is it like, like tape or whatever, like you taping, like you're, okay.
Yeah. That I like that too. When they sent it over the first time like that. And then through every iteration, they kept that on there. I like that as well.
Yeah.
And the raggedness of if you look at the jaggedness, like in the dark part where it kind of it looks like some torn paper or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that can represent, just how things are not uniform. They're not perfect. Yeah. And, how they could be different sizes and shapes. But what you really have to look at it. And then, like I said, I'm a thinker. So I'm looking at it and I'm seeing so many different things just on the cover that may not be apparent, to just look at it.
Right. So there's more.
Yeah.
To what you see there.
Exactly.
Dr. Graham, we were talking about you. It's okay that you're late. She said she's just not joining us. We were just talking about you in your book. And as a matter of fact, I'm glad you did come on right now too, because I do want to make sure that you and my guests today connect. You guys need to connect because your books, they're, coincide and they are definitely relatable. So we'll try to make that connection with the two of you. And this is good stuff. You guys, if you're just not joining us, I'm telling you, this has been a wonderful discussion so far with Katherine Staten, the author of Descendants of Dysfunction. And you can go to Amazon or you can go to the website that I have pinned at the bottom of the Facebook Live, which is the name of the book, Descendants of Dysfunction book.com. Yes. Descendants of Dysfunction book.com in order to purchase this book. And we've already had one winner because I was doing a giveaway on today. We already had one winner. Araceli is the winner of the first book. And I did say that I would purchase another book for someone else to be able to win this book. But you have to answer the question. Name a dysfunctional family in the Bible and tell me why you say that they had dysfunction in their family. So you can throw that into the comments section, whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, where else we're at? YouTube.
All over the place.
Throw that into the comments section for me. Name and the first one that answers, I will give you I will purchase a book and that'll be my gift to you. This again, you can use it in a Bible study. You can use it in your own home. This will be definitely beneficial for you. And I've already mentioned how I appreciate how she laid out this book. She talks about the families in the Bible, certain families that she has in this first book. And then at the end of every chapter, she makes you think. She has a section for reflection. She has a section that actually really goes into detail about what makes that family dysfunctional. She has a section that talks about what made them strong, because, even though we're bringing out, she's bringing out, even though she's bringing out the points of the families and their dysfunction, she doesn't want to leave you there.
Right.
And so she talks about what made them strong. So there are some things you can pull out, of that dysfunctional family. So there is hope. Don't think there's no hope. Oh yeah, well, my family probably falls into all of these, and we're hopeless. No, you're not hopeless.
Right.
She asks you the question: is this your family? And then the reflections section. So she does this in every chapter, where these families are highlighted. Buddy Gill says, yeah, this is good stuff. No, he said, yup, this is good stuff. Oh, yes, family dynamics. Yes, Dr. Ram, I know you would appreciate that. Joseph and his brothers, jealousy, father show favoritism.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Graham, I will have to get you the book. You're the second winner on today. So we had 2 winners, and I appreciate you guys throwing in those particular comments and giving us some Bible families in the Bible that are dysfunctional. So Dr. Graham, I'll make sure to mail that out to you. Again, you're our second winner. So let's see. I think what I want to do is I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions, but I want to stop right now and play our spoken word or poem, as he calls it. This is penned by Elder Kevin McGee, and he has a show entitled Connections, also at Intellectual Radio, on Saturdays at 12 noon. So typically, now he's been kind of, I'm gonna talk about him. He's been kind of negligent as I get this set up, but he has blessed us this week with a spoken word. I said negligent because he used to do it for us every week. Life happens. I get it. I understand he hasn't been able to, but he was able to do one for this week. So I'm going to set this up and guys, take a listen.
We are family, coming from different worlds, different sides of the tracks, different eras. We love to say how things were better during yesteryear or even biblical times. However, the Bible says nothing is new under the sun. What is now has been before, and what has been before is now. Dysfunction has been functioning for a long time, and we never knew that we have been witnessing storylines for lifetime movies that we see today. Doesn't matter if you're a king whose son rapes his sister and then is killed by his brother for the deed done, or perhaps a brother betraying another brother by manipulating him and stealing something most precious as a birthright, or maybe a wife so desperate to have a child that she cannot give her husband that she sends her servant to her husband to get pregnant, and then after finding herself pregnant, she comes to despise the servant and wants to send she and the child away, or brothers jealous of the younger that they scheme and connive to get rid of him, all because of his Technicolor dream coat, and then they tell their father that he was dead. Oh yeah, biblical times gives birth to today's lifetime movies. Dysfunctions at its best. So don't change that dial, because as the world turns, the dysfunctions continue.
Woo-hoo. All right, Elder McGee, that was so on point. Oh my goodness. I enjoyed that. And Katherine, when you can come back on, because I want to ask you your thoughts about that. Yeah, it seems as if I just asked him last night. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah.
He that was right on. That was right on. Yes. Yes. He almost had all my chapters.
Yep. That's exactly what I told you that earlier. You would think that he would have read your book by
Right. So when I was talking earlier, I thought that these would be some of the families that we were accustomed to hearing about in church through sermons or, Bible studies. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it seems, it's interesting that he pulled like those out,
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I think, did he get them all? Or wait,
Listen, he got most of them. He got,
right.
yeah, he got most of them.
Right. But we're not going to tell y'all which ones that the rest
Yeah,
of
he
them.
got most of them.
Got to buy the book. Well, yeah, but he did. That was so on point. So on point. Again, something to make you think, something to tickle your intellect. This book will do just that. So, what do you hope and or pray that this book will accomplish?
I hope that, of course, people will get it and read it, and I hope it becomes a book that gets passed around in families. Like, I read this, it don't take long. I want you to read it too. Like, it could be something like that. I really would love for it to be used in the way that it's formatted for Bible study. And the churches would, get the book and have Bible studies. And then I can also make available some ancillary things, because even though it's like the chapters are not long, when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of the chapters, I have some ancillary work that can be done in each chapter that will bring it even more to light. So that's one of the things that I'm hoping for. I'm hoping actually to get, on stages and talk about this more, because I talk a lot about starting conversations. Yeah. Like, how can we start these conversations? Now, I might not end the conversation. The conversation may end in therapy. It may end in other ways, but let's start the conversation so that we can get to where we need to be. So those are some of the things that I'm hoping, would happen as a result of this book. Definitely hoping that people will see themselves and know that just because, they've maybe experienced early adversity, early trauma, it does not mean that you cannot tap into your potential and be dynamic. It doesn't mean that.
Right.
And so those are just some of the things that I'm hoping. And then I also have, I have a lot of autobiographies of people who talk about severe family dysfunction. And that's one of the books that I would like to write. Dynamic despite dysfunction. And take each one of those and do a chapter on individuals, some well-known individuals that have come through a lot of family dysfunction and wrote about it. They already wrote their own book about it, but how can we use their stories to say, oh, wow, they're famous, or, they're successful by whatever, the world says they're successful. And I never would have thought, they were in foster care, or I never would have thought, their parents abandoned them. I never thought that, this happened to them, and look at how they are dynamic.
Yeah.
Real life people that are living today that are dynamic despite the dysfunction.
And I know we mentioned this earlier, but I think that's important to do that when you bring in examples, if you will. And that way people can kind of relate, to that individual. It could be their favorite singer or what have you, or their favorite ball player. And if they see and understand and know that they dealt with this or something similar,
one of my favorite people, well, I won't say favorite people, but Kirk Franklin is one of the people who, I mean, he's got a book, he wrote it many years ago called Church Boy. And basically he goes through everything that happened to him, and he writes about it. That's I believe that's part of his therapy, because some of the songs that he writes, and that's why he's probably one of my favorite artists, because he's so vulnerable. And I use some of his examples in some of my class that I taught. I used his song, how he starts off. His mother gave him up when he was 4 years old. And he goes into all of these lyrics and some of the things that he saw. And so that's one of the people, is like, just to look at him and see his success and how dynamic he is in so many ways. You would never think that he had this dysfunction early in his life.
Right. Oh, which is so good I mean, I'm glad you brought him up, because yeah, you're right. He was abandoned, if you will, or mother gave him up for.
Mm-hmm.
I think his grandmother raised him, took him
him. Yeah, she adopted him.
Right.
So he goes through talking about all of that in his book. He talks about that in all of his insecurities, and
right.
Sometimes even now he goes live and, he talks about, his emotions and how he feels and everything like that. And I think that's so good for people to see. Wow, you have these challenges and you are this person.
Right. Yeah. You bigger than life, so to speak.
Because we all have challenges.
Right. Definitely. Because I think at one point, I'm not sure, because I never read his book. I think at one point he, was able to share with the world how he dealt with, what was it? It wasn't pornography, was it? What was it?
Yeah. Yes.
Was it pornography?
Yes, he had a pornography.
Okay.
Yeah, he talks about that in one of his songs too. He talks about it in that song. He said, he started looking at pornography very young. And then he talks about in the song, finding love in dirty magazines. That's a part of some of his lyrics,
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you never know what a person is dealing with or what they've gone through.
Right.
Dr. Graham, a couple of weeks ago, she made this statement. She said she doesn't ask about an individual what's wrong with them. She asks what happened to them.
Right.
She's changed the question, so there's a history there. There's some detail there. If you really, go and peel back some layers, whether you got to go to some counseling or therapy or something to peel back those layers to find out. But there is something that happened to individuals, again, to make them act and or react the way they do. It doesn't just come out of thin air. It's not just, it's here.
Exactly.
You can something can kind of relate and, back to maybe how they grew up, how they came along. Maybe they felt that they didn't have the love that they felt they should have, or the direction, nurturing, or what have you. So yeah, that's a great example. He's a great example of an individual that you can kind of look at, that has shared their journey.
Exactly.
It's nothing, private.
It's not a secret. Right. Right.
Exactly. Wow. Dr. Graham she said, you have great ideas. She said, you should consider doing a series. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Right. Araceli says she can't wait to read the book and use it for Bible study. Thank you both. She says, God bless. God bless you too, Araceli. Thanks for answering the question. She was on and she did a couple of responses. But I thank you for participating with that. So we pray that all that you want to accomplish with this book will come to pass. Have you had any kind of any testimonies so far? Individuals reading your book, maybe they've used it for Bible study or what have you, that you may want to share with us thus far?
Well, I have had some text messages from people who bought the book. One person said, "I love your book. It's a breath of fresh air," and I haven't gotten any details about that, but wow, it made me feel like that person got some type of relief, reading the book, that they can relate to something, that it would give them a breath of fresh air. And then people have said, I love the book. Just the examples in the book. I have gotten, for people who actually know me and have my phone number, well, did so like it's almost like I don't want to say a soap opera, but it's like, tell me about, did this happen? And did like they want more to the story. They want me to give them some more details. So I got a couple of texts like that. Well, what's this person? Did they do this and did they do that? And can you tell me what happened after that? And so that's one of the reasons why I was doing the bonus video, to just kind of broaden it, so people can kind of get more information about each chapter. So that's kind of some of the feedback, that I have gotten. I did a online book conference where, I talked about the book. I had a LCPC on with me. And so we kind of talked about it from the mental health perspective. And then I did a in-person book conference where I had someone come in and actually does breath work, because we know that that's so important in regulating. When you regulate yourself, you are able to use your breath to regulate yourself. So at the in-person book conference, she actually was able to take the people that were there through some breath exercises. And so that's so important when you're trying to regulate yourself using your breath. And I had one individual there who said that she had only read the first chapter, but she had actually reached out to someone. It wasn't a family member, but a close friend that she has had this rift with, based upon reading the first chapter of the book. She reached out to that person to try to begin to mend the rift between her and this person that evidently had a close relationship with in the past. So those are some of the things. I had a lady tell me about, she always wanted her daughter to be in a certain profession. She wanted to be a nurse. And so she wanted her daughter to be a nurse. Daughter didn't want to be a nurse. And so when I talk in the book about creating sibling harmony, I talk about parents not living vicariously through their children. And that spoke to her because her daughter is in a helping profession currently, but it's not the nursing profession. And so she was able to look at that and say, hey, she wants to help in her own way. So I can't be, upset because she is not in this profession that I wanted her to be in. So that spoke to her and let her know, it settled her and let her know, hey, that's okay. It's okay that she doesn't want to do that. And we can't live through our children. We have to have our own lives.
And they have to have their own lives.
And they have to have their own lives.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good stuff. That's good feedback.
Yes.
I'm sure it's quite encouraging. So can they go to your website to book you if they want you to come? And do you do talks? Or how?
They can go to, and as you can see, I'm not all that. They can go to my website. I do have
I see your email here on your
flourishinggrow.org. It's a place on flourishinggrow.org where they can put their contact information in. And there's an email there as well, where they can email me, flourishinggrow.org.
Okay.
So that kind of talks about, some of the work that I'm very interested in getting into in terms of us dealing with our trauma. It even goes beyond our families. It goes into corporate, because your bottom line is affected when you have employees who have not dealt with their trauma. So trauma can even affect your bottom line in business.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about that and know that it's just not something that somebody went through. It can really be affecting them negatively. And if they work for you, it can affect your business as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
It And it can affect us in many different ways. And unfortunately, some of the things that even we see on social media, where it kind of looks like, and it doesn't look like it's staged, but people kind of go from like 0 to 10, like really quick,
Real
just
quick.
over something that.
And you're right. It's not a lot of that. Yeah. It looked like a stage. You're right. But yeah, people can kind of things can kind of tick people off real quick nowadays. A lot of people don't have a lot of patience. So yeah, that's something to do. I'm putting in, if you guys are interested in
The website.
Booking Katherine or seeing how you can connect with her further, I have put in the comment section her website, Flourish and Grow, FLOURISHANDGROW, all one word, .com. All right.
.org.
Oh, .org. Oh, okay. Let me correct it.
.org.
Okay. My bad.
So I made that name. I said I got two names that people like. If you're not just use those words all the time, man. I said they may have some difficulty with the spelling. Even when I thought about Descendants of Dysfunction, I was like, if people really gonna be looking for typing that all the way out, but hey, right. it was given to me, so that's what I went with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I've corrected it on here, guys. Okay. Flourishandgrow.org.
And that's what I want people to do. Flourish and grow.
Flourish and grow. I love it. I love the mentality and the concept.
Yeah. Flourish and grow.
I'm just like Dr. Graham. She said, you have great ideas. I see you going further with this and helping people. So I appreciate you and taking time out to even pen the book, to have the concern and care that you do for individuals to make sure that they are receiving what they need and the help they need. You see the need and you've done what you can to help. So we're grateful to God for using you, in that aspect. Do you have anything you want to wrap us up with on today as we are ending?
I just want to say I am going to be moving toward putting some other services out there to work with people in groups. And if you go to my website and get on my email list, then I will be sending that information out. And if you know someone or if you're interested yourself, I'll be glad to have you. This will be my first time putting something out there, so I'm testing it. But I just want to put it out there, and I want people to benefit from it. That's the main thing.
Okay. Now, when you say groups, can you kind of tell me exactly what that means?
What I am envisioning is a place where people will come and sign up for the group. And I'm actually using the word dynamic as the 7 lessons. So every letter in the word dynamic, of course, I talked earlier about defining yourself. So that's the first lesson. And so because I know that this is not something that is going to be, it's not like an overnight thing. Eventually I'll probably be moving, towards something that will last at least 6 months. But right now, I just want to kind of start it, get my feet wet a little bit, kind of see how it goes, see, how it's resonating with people. So I will be starting with those first 3 letters of the word dynamic, talking about defining, then going into yielding, and then going into nurturing. So those are the first 3. Yes, I am dynamic despite dysfunction. You can still be dynamic despite dysfunction.
I love this bookmark, guys. When she mailed me my book, this bookmark was in there. I am dynamic despite dysfunction. Now, it may be a little shiny because this had like green in it, and I got my green background. So, but you should be able to see it though.
Yeah, I can see it good.
Okay. And then on the back of it, she has the website. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is her social media information, excuse me. Instagram, Flourish. Let me put on my eyes because let me, give me a second, guys. I don't want to misread anything. Okay, so on Instagram, she's Flourish_grow. Is that correct?
Yes. And then I have everything, and then I have a regular just Katherine_Staten on Instagram as well. But I do have the Flourish_grow. And then on Facebook, it's just Katherine Staten right now. I don't have a fancy old business thing, just my regular Facebook.
No, this is good stuff. This is good stuff.
Yeah, it's my regular.
Yes, with a nice picture on the back of it with her social media information. So again, you guys have so many ways you can contact Katherine on today. Send her a friend request. I'm sure she'll accept it.
Yes.
Let her know that you found out about her through Mind, Body, and Soul GetCaughtInAnet. Maybe that'll help her accept your friend request quicker. I don't know if people are like me, so I get friend requests all the time. But if I know that they're connected to someone else or they heard about it, me from somebody else, then I'm more inclined to accept it. If I don't know who they are, because there's so many fake pages out here and everything too. So you just want to. So yeah, this has been tremendous. I can't say that enough. This has been great, very informative. Your book itself, it's one to make individuals think, to take an examination of themselves, of their families, of their lives, so that they can be better. So that they can be better, and don't want to leave them in the situation that they're in. And we can move forward and we can attain all that God has for us. Even as my early opening scripture states, we want to attain as much knowledge as we can while we're here in this present world. And this is all a part of it. This is all a part of it. So I want to thank you again for coming on, for reaching out to me and letting me know that you have this new book. I'm so glad you did that.
Well, I want to thank you for being for me and being able to reach out to you. Like I said before, so many things that were pre-pandemic are not, but I just want to congratulate you, for continuing on and still being here and having this format and this, for people to come on and get this information. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do. We're coming up on, it'll be 9 years this year. We're coming up on 10 years next year. So I'm excited about that. God is blessing. He's opening up doors. Amen. And making ways. So thank you to all my listeners, everybody, everywhere, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I appreciate all of you for your comments, for participating in the giveaway on today. We'll make sure to get that out to Araceli and Dr. Joyce, the books that you have won on today. All right. And you will benefit, and give us a little feedback when you get these books. Some feedback. Give Katherine some feedback and let her know how you enjoyed it and how it was a blessing to you. Buddy says, another great show today. Great guest. Thank you. When Buddy says that, I always say, Buddy say that, you know. Okay.
Well, thank you. All right.
I love Buddy. He's one of the down to earth, real. He gonna keep it like it is. And if you don't say anything, then you're like, he's good people. Brandy says she's going to tune into the replay. I appreciate that if you would. And many of you have shared. I see almost 30 shares here. So guys, thank you so much for sharing on Facebook.
Thank you.
But we appreciate that. Instagram as well. We're going to get out of here, guys. We have some great things that we're working on coming up. And I can't wait to share it with you. God is really opening up doors and blessing. We have been off for a few weeks, guys, but we're just getting some things together. Can't wait to share it with you. Go to my website, GetCaughtInANetRadio.com. We will make sure that everything upcoming is there. I do have some events that are coming up that I'll be participating in as well. So just go there and you won't miss a beat. All right. Let me hit this, guys. Hit it, and we'll see you next week. We want to show you what we have going on next week. And let me get it set up for you. On the next session of Get Caught in a Net.
Get caught in a net. What a